All right, let's talk about trading ETFs. I know, it's one of those things that can sound a little intimidating, right? Well, over the next few minutes, we're going to pull back the curtain on the whole process. And trust me, you'll probably be surprised by how straightforward it actually is. Yeah, it's a super common feeling. You hear ETF, and maybe your brain just fills with images of complicated charts and a bunch of Wall Street jargon. But the truth? It's way, way simpler than that. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack right now. And look, this right here is the number one thing to get, seriously. If you've ever bought or sold a single share of a stock, any company, you already know how to do this. You've got all the skills. The process is literally the same. Okay, so let's dive in and see just how similar we're talking about. What does that trading process actually look like? So where do you even find these things? Well, you'll find ETFs right on the big exchanges you already know, like the NYSE or the NASDAQ, trading right alongside famous companies. Every ETF has its own unique ticker symbol, those little letter codes, just like a stock. And the best part? When you're ready to buy or sell, you just do it through your normal brokerage account. It's the same screen, the same buttons, there's nothing new you have to learn. It's that simple. And this is where ETFs have a huge leg up on something like mutual funds. See, with a mutual fund, you can only trade it once a day, and that's after the market closes. But with an ETF, you can trade it all day long, anytime the market's open, from that opening bell at 9:30 a.m. Eastern all the way to the close at 4 p.m. That gives you way more flexibility to make a move when you want to. Okay, so we know we can trade them all day. But what about the price? How is that price you see on the screen decided from 1 second to the next? Well, it really all boils down to two key numbers that are always changing: the bid and the ask. The easiest way to think about this is like a live auction that's happening constantly. The bid price? That's the highest price any buyer out there is willing to pay for a share at that exact moment. And the ask price? That's the lowest price any seller is willing to take. These two prices are just in this constant dance with each other all day long, all driven by good old supply and demand. And that little sliver of space between those two numbers, that's what we call the bid-ask spread. You can think of this little gap as a kind of built-in cost for making the trade. And honestly, getting a handle on what this spread means is a huge step towards being a smarter, more efficient trader. So what you're really looking for is a tight spread. What does that mean? Well, for those really popular, high-volume ETFs, the ones that are traded millions of times a day, the bid and ask prices are super close together. That's a tight spread. All that trading activity means it's really liquid and your trades end up being cheaper. Now, on the other hand, a less popular ETF, maybe for a really specific niche, might have a wide spread. The bid and the ask are farther apart, and that just means it's a little more expensive to get your trade done. All right, let's get to the fun part, actually placing your order. This is the moment you click buy or sell. And you might not realize this, but you actually have a lot of control over how that trade happens. And all that control comes down to picking the right type of order. Now, there are a few different types, but for now, we're just going to focus on the two big ones, the ones you'll use almost all the time, the market order and the limit order. And this is where you have to make a choice. It really comes down to a classic trade-off. Do you want speed or do you want price control? A market order is all about speed. You're basically telling your broker, I don't care about the exact penny, just get me these shares right now at whatever the best price is. And boom, it happens instantly. A limit order, though, that's all about control. With a limit order, you're saying, hey, I only want to buy if the price is, say, $50 or less. You get to set your price. The only catch is if the price never drops to your limit, your trade might not happen. Phew. Okay, so we've covered a lot, right? We talked about how ETFs trade, how their prices are set, and how you actually place an order. So let's wrap all that up into a really simple, easy-to-remember checklist. First up, try to focus on those high-volume ETFs. That's your best bet for getting a nice, tight spread which saves you money. Number 2, before you hit that trade button, always take a quick peek at the bid-ask spread. It's the fastest way to check an ETF's liquidity. And finally, number 3, really think about using limit orders. They give you total control over your price, and that's especially important if you're trading one of those less common ETFs. You see, it all comes right back to what we said at the very beginning. If there's only one thing you remember from all this, make it this. Don't let that 3-letter acronym, ETF, scare you. The actual mechanics of trading them, it's stuff you probably already know how to do. So there you have it. You've got the fundamentals now. You know the process, you understand the pricing, and you know the tools you can use. You're ready to trade ETFs with confidence. So the only real question left is, what's your first move going to be?